Hey guys, recently dyed my hair. It's rather different. I am, okay, ready? I'm nervous, I don't know why. No way. Okay, my hairstyle is called it blush blonde because strawberry blonde is a little darker, but I've never been blonde in my life. I've never been blonde in my life. It looks healthy. Surprisingly, my hair is like doesn't feel dead at all. So I'm like swearing to myself this time that I will take better care of it this time. Eyebrows is a good decision. Okay, so the first night I like came home and I was looking at myself and I was like, dude, I think my dark eyebrows are just this is cutting. It's just, I don't know, it ain't doing it. So then I was like, I'm just gonna bleach my eyebrows. So I did. And I actually really like it. So the nice thing is if with blonde I can do anything with it. So I'm like, oh, you know what, maybe I'll even add more pink to it, or maybe I'm gonna, I don't know, we'll see. I have a couple updates, honestly. So yeah, I bleached my hair. And you know what, there's something about bleaching your hair, and I was talking about this last stream and I was like, no John, it's like I don't want to, but like I have to. And John was like, no, I don't get it. I was like, I know you're a man, you don't understand, but like sometimes you just have to. It's like you're going through something internally, and so you have to change something externally. Can I see it without the headphones on? Oh sure. The tops, so she's like, do you want a shadow root? And I was like, I don't know what a shadow root is, but apparently it's when they add dimension to the roots. So the roots are a little more pink than like the back. Can you guys see that? So I had really long hair. You guys remember, like my hair was like, I don't know, my hair was at least down to maybe my waist for like majority of my life. And then I bleached my hair pink, and then the bottom half of my hair actually like broke off to this length. And then I was like, what the because I was taking care of it. I was putting in products and stuff. My hairstylist said I actually just wasn't washing it enough, which I didn't know was possible because I didn't want to dry it out, so I was washing it less. But then my hair fell out, and then remember I cut it, I was like cutting it short, and then I hated it. Like, this is so not me. And then I went back to brown, and then I got extensions, and then my hair grew out, and then I got my extensions on, and then I cut my hair again. So I just think hair is just a process. But I think something I really like about this look is my blush. Every time I get ready and I do my blush, I'm like, wow, because I think the hair color brings out my blush so much. So yeah, I think it's just like such a drastic change that I'm like, whoa. Because I wake up in the morning and I go to wash my face and I look in the mirror, I'm like, oh, who the f is that? Oh, okay, another update. As you guys know, Mabel. So for the last, okay, actually, let me give you the whole rundown. My cat. Well, actually, let's rewind even faster than that. For the last 3 weeks, I have been in a depressive episode. Like, I was like, okay, I'm just fully admitting it. Like, I'm depressed. It is what it is. I'm just depressed. And that's okay. Like, I generally, when I'm in a depressive episode, I kind of like reinforce my way out of it, like through just discipline. And then eventually, like, I like get kicked out of it. But this time I was like, you know what? I must be depressed for a reason. Okay, so let's just like feel our feels and let's just go through it. So I'm going through the motions, and then it took me about 3 weeks. And then Mabel is being so strange. Okay, and you guys know Mabel. Mabel is crazy. She is my little nut. She's my gremlin child. Okay, and then all of a sudden she's just kind of doing nothing, and I immediately noticed it the first day, and I made a vet appointment because I'm like, I don't know, something's off. Like, I would just rather get her seen. So then we take her to the vet, and they do a bunch of tests, and they're like, yeah, I don't know, nothing. And I was like, okay. And then she starts getting worse, and she starts puking up bile and constantly licking her lips, which is a sign of nausea in cats. So I'm like, what are you doing? And then she starts shaking a lot, and I'm like, so the vet takes x-rays again, and they were waiting for like this PCR test or something, like basically like blood work and all this testing to come back, and they're like, oh, I don't, like, there's nothing wrong with her. And I'm like, okay, strange. Basically every day got worse. Like, it started with her just kind of like trying to puke something up but not puking up anything, and then the next day was her actually puking up bile, and then the next day was like the piles were huge, bigger than her body. So then I was like so scared, but she was still eating and drinking water. So I was like, okay, that's a good sign. The next day, which was my last stream, she just was not eating. She was hiding from me. Her bile pile was so big, and she just basically stopped eating, drinking. She was just like limp, like a complete rag doll, which is when I ended stream and I was like, guys, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm taking her to emergency. So I take her to the emergency vet because I was like, at minimum, even though they might not have, or maybe she doesn't have anything wrong with her, at least I can put like an IV in her and get her some liquid. So I take her to the emergency, and the thing is, I've been to the emergency vet for like so many reasons. Like this is probably my 5th to 6th time going. Like I've been for Cillian's cats, I've been for Sydney's dogs, I've been for my cats. So I've been there a lot, and like I understand how the process usually goes, right? You go, I even bring packs of cards and I bring books because I've been there from minimum to 4 hours and maximum to 12. You know, it usually takes a long time. I tell them the symptoms, they come to the car in 5 minutes. And so then I'm at that point, I'm like, oh, trying to internally not freak the fuck out, because I'm like, never has any of the animals we brought been in such dire like emergency mode that they take them so quickly. So I'm like, no. So they take my cat, and then they basically are like, we don't know, so we're gonna keep her overnight until the person can come and do a ultrasonic, right? So I was like, okay, I'd rather you just like keep her overnight. At least like if something goes wrong, she's there. I get the call in the morning and they're like, hey, so our doctor had a hunch, did another x-ray, even though we got sent the x-rays from the vet, and she swallowed a needle. And I actually like audibly gasped. I went, because like that's just, I don't know, that's the worst thing that could ever happen. No, like my first initial thing is like, oh my God, is she okay? And they're like, we're gonna go in and perform emergency surgery and make sure that there's nothing going on, that it didn't puncture anything. My emergency vet is like, thankfully, she seems normal. Like her vitals are normal. We're hopeful that nothing else is wrong and that she just swallowed the needle. And some animals, some cats swallow needles and they just pass on through, but obviously Mabel's is not. So cats just be swallowing needles, and I Google it, and there's so many x-rays of cats who've swallowed needles. I was like, okay, so my cat just isn't the freak, but also what are I'm just so confused by it. Anyways, she goes to surgery. I'm freaking the f out. I get the call, surgery goes well. I pick her up, and she has so much energy. Like, back to the Mabel I know immediately, which is also like a blessing and a curse, because I'm like, okay, you're supposed to be like a surgery patient right now. Like I'm supposed to take care of you, and you're trying to bounce off the walls. So right now, Mabel's in a tent that is the size of a queen bed. She has a couch in there, a heated blanket, a litter box, 2 things of food, water. Like she's in glorious prison, and she still is burrowing her way out. I have duct taped this hole, and she keeps, I will wake up because Mabel will wake me up at 6 a.m. with her just laying on my chest staring at me with her little flower cone, and I'm like, how did you get out? Like the hole is this big, how are you fitting the whole cone through the hole? So I'm like, are you getting out another way? It's literally Shawshank Redemption. I'm like, but she's also so loving. Like she's been such a lover girl, because I think she knows, you know, she's like, I've seen fucking death, man, and I know what it's like, and I'm back, and I won't take it for granted. So now I think she's just really feeling good, is way happier. In case you guys need a warning, don't let your cats eat needles, because they'll eat them. You think that they'd eat string, rubber bands, I don't know, cookies? No, needles. How much was the surgery? Yeah, guys, if I be doing sponsors a little bit more this month, do not blame me. Guess how much that surgery was. I actually told myself when they gave me the call, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just give it a really high number so that when they give me the number, I'll be like, oh my God, I saved so much money. So in my head, I was like, okay, it's gonna be 10K. So then when they come back and say, hey, it's 5, I'll be like, oh, look at me, I saved $5,000. It was 10K. $10,000, like $10,118 or something like that. I was like, okay. But I do have pet insurance, so I'm gonna try to claim it, and we'll see. How big was the needle? It was like this big. And you know, when I picked her up, the vet assistant was like, you want to keep the needle? And they showed me the bag. They're like, hey, we have the needle if you want to keep it. And I was like, oh, no, I'll keep it. Like my initial response was to say no, but then I was, you know what? I'm gonna keep that. It feels like it's a good thing to keep. To loop that back around into why does this go into my depressive episode? I had worried so much about Mabel, I think because like it was just an external worry, that it actually snapped me out of my depression. I was talking to my therapist about that. She's like, you know what? It's not uncommon that when like an external emergency happens, that like, yeah, you can't really worry about the internal anymore. And then boom, all of a sudden you're not depressed. I was like, and boom, I'm out of it. My dad just visited, so I wasn't streaming for quite some time. 1, because I was depressed. 2, because I was taking care of Mabel, and then 3, my dad visited. So my dad flew in for the weekend, and I'm like hanging out with my dad, and he's like talking to me, and he's like, yeah, so how are you feeling? Because basically my dad flew down because he knew I was depressed. He's like, okay, I'm gonna come and hang out with you, and like, well, whatever. I come and I'm kind of like, oh yeah, you know, I'm kind of fine now. He's like, you know what, that's great. So I just flew my dad out today. Like, or I just took him to the airport today, and now I'm back. So been a really eventful last 3 weeks. Anyways, that's basically it. I'm trying to think of the updates of my life. I'm just taking it slow.